Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the Industry Executive Briefing for Contact Center Strategy and Telecommunications. Before we get started this morning, here are 3 housekeeping points. We have designed this session to be 25 minutes of presentation format with our guest speakers, Sylvain and Chris. We will leave 20 minutes to allow the 2 of them to answer your questions live. Ask questions over the Q&A interface. We've enabled anonymous questions, so feel free to ask anything on your mind. With that, let me introduce our 2 speakers this morning. Sylvain Mackay is a principal in E&Y's Business Advisory Services practice. He has 20 years of experience in consulting for the telecom industry. Over the course of his career, he has helped multiple executives grow their businesses, improve their performance, launch and optimize their product portfolios, and transform their organizations. He will be joined by Chris Arnold, who is the Vice President of Contact Center Strategy at ASAPP. Chris works with customers like Vodafone, Dish, Sprint, and others to implement technology to improve engagement, lower costs, and increase agent efficiency. And prior to ASAPP, Chris spent 20 years leading contact center strategy and technology for Verizon and Altel. With that, I'll say good morning, Sylvain.
Good morning, Teresa. Good to be here. So, yeah, I think we should get started, absolutely right in and dive into this content. I'm going to start, by setting a bit the tone here on what's happening with contact centers. We are a very interesting time, I would say, structurally and also more recently with what's happening with COVID. So contact centers are now one piece among multiple channels. Most of the industry are omni-channel. And in telecom, we'll get back to that. You have also to deal with digital retail. And so the contact center is now one piece of a very complex set of processes, sales, and support. So, and that keeps evolving, and that's the continuous transformation that we've seen over the past months that keeps shaping the contact center. And there are things more recently that have happened, accidents, news, and the fact that we have this COVID now, of course, massively impact the contact center with agents working from home on the one hand, so a problem of supply and a problem of demand with more people working from home having to call to fix their internet connection. So very interesting set of parameters on the environment of contact center. And in the middle of all that, of course, an increasing spend of technology. Call center continue in this environment to invest massively in technology. You see on this chart 2 data points, and we're going to dive into that a lot. AI on one end, that will support the experience needed for the agent and for the customer within contact center, and automation for all the process that work around the agent for login provisioning, back office tasks for agents. So we are very much at an exciting time right now with what's happening and all the technology investment to support contact centers. So let's talk about telecom here. I'm sure we have on the line many people that are dedicated to this industry and want to hear the specificities that we have to say. So what you see here, I would like to set 3 important facts. In the telecom industry specifically, in spite of what we see with self-service and digital and pushing transaction online, there's still a massive volume of sales transaction, service transaction that we go through contact center. If you take the cable industry, sales is the main channel. Retail for wireless to some extent, but you see that the massive volume of calls that are still there for sales. And there are different reasons for that. The packages are complex. It's difficult to make the right decision and understand the pricing when you buy online. That's one of the reasons. Another one, even if self-installed kits are available, you usually still need to call to activate your cable box, your set-top box, and sometimes even your phone. So that's due to the complexity of the service and the technological nature of it. And finally, you have some transactions that are very complex, like moving, upgrading, and that's very difficult to implement online. So that's why calls volume remain massive. But what's happening in the same time, and that's the second point, is that expectations are higher from customer. You know, telecom is specific, but people will compare you, customer will compare their experience that they have with a cable company with another digital company. For them, they want good service, whatever. And that's a challenge because for telecom company, the comparison is hard and they don't score very well in terms of customer satisfaction, but customer expectations are higher. And you need to be compared to better company. So that's really a challenge here. And finally, on the right-hand side, you see that it cannot be ignored by telecom companies because even if it's not the main decision to subscribe or to renew your service, for some people, it matters. And you see here some data points from our recent studies where you see we're in the low two-digit type of percentage where people change, do not renew, or select a provider just from customer experience and the service they get at customer service. So that's basically a little bit the state of the art where we are in telecom for contact center now. Massive volume of calls, high expectation, and high impacts on to make your numbers of gross adds and retention. So what's happening? Everybody can ask, yeah, but what about self-service? You know, they've been pushing for that. That's definitely the future. That's definitely cheaper. Yes, it's happening. Absolutely. It's necessary for cost reduction. It's good for the bottom line. It appeals, of course, to some demographics that are digital native. And I think we can fairly say that among the company we talk to, they've done a decent job of pushing some of the call and moving them to digital. Typically what you see when you view your bill, you pay your bill, they really manage to save a lot of cost by pushing that online with success. That's true. However, you cannot say today that, you know, they're best in class and have done enough in terms of self-service. And why? I think they're still missing a few features. There's something technically today it's not possible to do them online. You cannot easily switch packages from your cable subscription. It's a bit better in the wireless world, but on cable it's still very complex sometimes to change just your speed. If you want to change your internet speed, or maybe you have to buy a different package because the speed is not available in your bundle. So there's some complexity around that cannot be done online. They've done a better job in terms of front end and UI, true. I don't know if the telecom industry is still the best in class in terms of number of clicks and those kind of features of the digital native company. So still work to do certainly to make a seamless and best in class digital front end here. And as I was saying, you know, some transactions are very complex and cannot do online. The reason for that, there's a good reason, you know, that it's not only a lack of strategy for telco. What everybody knows probably these companies, especially in the cable, are just the merger of different regional cable companies that have legacy systems that are not connected. So to do an online seamless experience, you need to stitch together different systems, and it's very complex. So for them to move to, if you compare to a digital native company built from scratch, it's way easier to do a best-in-class self-service rather than stitching together old systems. So there's a lot of barriers and hurdles on the way here, which explain why they're not yet there. So if we continue our conversation here, let's see a little bit where the opportunities are and how it will be a good transition to see what we think about the right technologies for that. So the reality of this, the challenge remains there. There's an increased pressure on agents to sell and upsell. Telecom companies are more and more end-to-end convergent, with cable company having wireless, home securities, wireless company bundling with content. So agents have more and more to deal with, more and more service, more and more pressure on selling in a limited amount of time, with making sure the calls do not last too long. There are multiple systems and screens to swivel between as well. And the pricing is not always getting more simple at the same time. They have also to deal with different channels. Many customers start a transaction in a certain channel and want to complete online. The things like persistent shopping cart, for instance, you see, to complete your purchase on one channel. And they have a lot of interaction. So all that makes that the reality the life of the agent is getting more and more complex. There's no question about it. It's more and more complicated to deal with all that. And instead of, of changing everything and redoing all your systems, which is not possible, what can you do? How can you be more intelligent and bring a layer of intelligence to make all that more seamless together, proactive, personalized, intuitive? And that's where AI comes into play. So it's a perfect segue for me to transition to Chris and explain, how AI in a few concrete examples can really solve this problem. Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Sylvain. Hello and good day, everyone. So as we look at the challenges on the left, I think we can all agree that these are not new challenges. The level of complexity for the agent is what's changed significantly over the last 5 or maybe 10 years. The automation of the basic interactions that Sylvain was just mentioning, such as pay my bill and what are your store hours, address changes, those have left the agent handling complex and typically more emotive interactions. And I believe leveraging artificial intelligence to provide the agent real-time guidance is a current capability that offers even the largest, most complex contact center operations a means of enhancing customer and agent experiences. And both are very, very important, by the way, customer and agent experiences, while making double-digit reductions in OpEx. Natural language processing, machine learning technology is now capable of bringing all customer engagements with your brands together into a single journey. Sylvain mentioned stitching together. So think about your sales teams, your service teams, the web, the app, your voice and chat bots across all voice and digital interactions. It enables you to finally deliver the omni-channel experience that eliminates friction in that level of effort for your customers and your agents. These enhanced experiences drive the increases in sales and loyalty and retention and ultimately those business efficiencies. I believe we're all clear on why it's critical that we bring a more modernized level of intelligence to our agents, but most of the organizations that I work with, they're just not clear on how to do it. So on this next slide, I like to think of this particular slide as a how to get started in 3 steps. While all organizations have a different starting point, virtually all of the telcos I work with have a website, a mobile app, a small percentage of digital engagements such as chat or email, but customer interactions are still predominantly voice. In fact, most of the organizations I work with have begun deploying voice and chat bots, but that automation has seen limited success in managing the increasingly complex and emotive interactions of current day. Over my last few years at Verizon, we began heavily focusing on shifting voice to digital for obvious reasons, from asynchronous messaging to intercepting calls within the IVR. We actually found that callers were willing to engage with us digitally between 30 and 40% of the time after initially choosing to call us. With capabilities such as Apple Business Chat's Chat Suggest feature, and some other IVR intercept technologies that we deployed, we were able to move significant voice volume into messaging channels, which then opens up really unlimited opportunities to engage with your customers digitally and then keeping them across the rest of their journey within those digital channels. This movement of voice to digital drove material benefits in CSAT, agent satisfaction, and CSAT in terms of net promoter score, your internal surveys that you provide to your customers, and agent satisfaction. Surprisingly, I saw significant reductions in absenteeism, and then ultimately, enough absenteeism is a precursor to agent attrition, and that's an incredibly expensive cost to contact centers of sort of being on that treadmill of attrition, replacing that, ramping those new agents, losing that expertise every year. And the culmination of all of that ultimately drove significant business efficiencies, which I'll show you examples of in just a couple of slides. Shifting to digital is really about meeting customers where they already are. where they're already texting with friends and family, they can now have meaningful interactions with your brand. It's also about giving your customer the choice, the convenience, the control as to how and when they engage. In my experience, when operationalized correctly, and this is an important point, it must be operationalized correctly. This is not an incremental step up from synchronous chat or voice, but a transformational step on behalf of both your customers and your agents. Next, while we optimize the digital ecosystem, we have an opportunity to leverage machine learning to optimize agents. When you consider the thousands, perhaps even tens of thousands of agents that work in your contact centers, or most of which now work from home, the range of performance between your top performers and your bottom performers is very, very significant, not to mention very, very costly. We have before us the opportunity to leverage technology to replicate what your best agents are saying and doing during their interactions with customers. We can replicate these optimal behaviors by prompting every member of the team to say and to do the same things your highest performers are saying and doing. If we think about this, this is really the life's work of a contact center supervisor. One key difference is that supervisors are tasked with coaching to better performance after the fact. You might think of that as after the damage has already been done. So this is an opportunity for us to provide the agent a real-time co-pilot, helping them make the best decisions for their customers and your business now, not next time. In a moment, we'll talk about how proper desktop design enables your agent to maximize the value of real-time coaching provided by the native self-learning algorithms. Third and last here is the opportunity to leverage new insights in an actionable way to drive enhanced business outcomes. For me personally, in the last 10 days, I've had 2 separate conversations with 2 different CIOs, and they were both saying the same thing. They've essentially stopped asking their teams for new drivers of customer interactions. They're convinced that there's nothing new to learn because the reporting always tells them the same thing. When we use the same old legacy reporting and analytics methodologies, we shouldn't expect different results. The new insights are there if we choose to employ more intelligent means of getting to the topics your customers are discussing and the trends that are typically just below the surface of your business. I'm currently working with a customer who is using their agent insights in 2 very impactful ways. With the ability to transcribe every voice and digital interaction in real time, we see both sides of the conversation every single time. We also have visibility into what actions the agents are taking to resolve customer inquiries. This 360-degree view of the interaction provides insights into how the data science or bot team can later tune any existing automations for increased containment rates. We're also using this clickstream data to determine which routine tasks can be automated. Process automation and the ability for agents to hand customers off to partial flows where they can assist the automation is ultimately the beginning of an evolution of the role of the agent. When you have real-time visibility into every voice and every digital interaction, along with the actions taken by the agent, you have business insights that help you increase the effectiveness of promotions, price plans, your loyalty and retention offers. Think about how important it is to take advantage of these and to understand what's working and what's not, and to prompt your agents to be more engaged when it comes to driving loyalty. As competition is fierce these days and companies are reducing the friction it takes to jump from one provider to another, taking action on these by way of next best action as an example is very, very important. And then the cost benefits associated with eliminating routine tasks and process and policy changes that can ultimately help you achieve those desired business outcomes at significantly lower cost. So the question is, how do we bring this to life? On this next slide, it's a view of a digital desktop where the agent engages the customer in asynchronous messaging. This particular desk requires a bit more real estate because this is where the conversation with the customer takes place. Voice is a little different, so I'll show you that on the next slide. But here I'll highlight just a few of the key capabilities that drive this significant value. First, concurrent conversations. Moving from legacy engagement, whether it be voice or live chat, you can actually move from 1 or 2 simultaneous conversations to 5 or 6 in an asynchronous environment. This significantly changes your resource requirements, which gives you the flexibility to handle either more volume or ultimately take advantage of those cost efficiencies. Next is the auto-suggest language. In a digital environment, it really matters how you prompt your agents to say certain things in an asynchronous environment. This is an opportunity for us to ultimately leverage. If we can go back to the next slide, Katie. The previous slide. I'm sorry. And so the auto-suggest language there in the bottom left-hand corner, this is an opportunity for us to use the machine learning models to analyze what those best agents, and every time I refer to best agents, I'm referring to those business outcomes, whether it be net promoter score, first contact resolution, average handle time, you guys know the list. Those agents that are generating the best, most well-rounded business outcomes, those are the ones that we look at what they're saying, we look at what they're doing, and then the goal is to replicate that, which is an effort to make every agent your best agent. And this is an area of opportunity where small changes lead to big results, where we see our agents taking advantage of these suggestions, 50, 60, 70% of the time. Every time they do that, they take advantage of our augmentation. It saves between 12 and 20 seconds. And when you think about how that adds up across millions of interactions, maybe 100 million interactions annually, that provides significant OpEx savings. And then in the upper right-hand side, back-end integrations. This is an opportunity, and Sylvain mentioned this, to really modernize your tech stack. That can come by way of integrations to existing systems that are already working well for you, to ultimately create a consolidation in many cases is an opportunity. That system rationalization where you don't need 50 different suppliers. You shouldn't run 200 different applications. As much as you can integrate and ultimately system rationalize, that tech stack becomes more simplistic and the utility for the agent goes up. And then lastly, in the bottom right-hand corner, predictive coaching. Ultimately, this just means serving up the right information at the right time. It's probably the most critical capability of real-time augmentation, whether it's knowledge-based articles, next best action, sentiment analysis, or even enabling a supervisor to listen in and offer real-time assistance remotely. The agent feels like the technology and ultimately the business has their back. This is particularly important as we move to a permanent work from home operating model. Now on the next slide, Voice Desk offers all of the same agent augmentation that I've mentioned thus far in a much smaller format where you're not conversing with the customer within the agent console. We don't require as much real estate. So this is an opportunity for us to create an integrated, almost think of it as a single pane of glass with the existing CRM so that there's less alt tab, there's more integration. It creates less friction for the agent so that co-pilot is sitting in the front seat with the agent real time. We're listening to voice, we're listening to digital, and we can offer up insights real time that assist that agent with achieving higher net promoter, higher first contact resolution, even offering the supervisor an opportunity to whisper in real time if they see something going, you might say off the rails. This is an opportunity for that supervisor to engage real time within the co-pilot to help get the conversation back on track and prevent that after the fact coaching down the road. As an example for me at Verizon, we deployed an agent desktop that was based on tiles and tabs, ultimately helping me manage the expansive needs of the desktop because as all of you guys know, the desktop is coveted space. I like to think of it as beachfront property because everybody wants a piece of it and nobody's making more of it. So you got to be very, very thoughtful about what you put on that desktop. And creating a tiles and tabs approach, it really helped me component or modularize the desk, the CRM platform, and it ultimately creates space for this co-pilot to really sit within that CRM platform. And that agent has one very, very modernized, very intelligent tool. It's a single source for them to do almost their entire job in a very integrated manner. So on the next two slides, I wanted to share with you sort of the cumulative effect of everything that I've shared with you thus far. There's two case studies. They're both telco. One is prepaid, one is postpaid. And what you can see in these numbers is reducing costly voice calls is a primary opportunity. The economics, the customer satisfaction, the agent satisfaction is very significant when you look at business cases where you're moving voice into digital channels. And the automation that comes with that, the augmentation that comes with that, where customers can self-serve at a higher rate, and ultimately you reap the benefits of that efficiency. And most of that comes by way of asynchronous messaging versus the legacy engagement channels. Reducing the friction and level of effort required by your customers is a major contributor to your net promoter performance. First contact resolution is probably the #1 KPI correlated to customer success or ultimately frustration. And surfacing the right information to the right agent at the right time can help you reach unprecedented levels of first contact resolution. So to close this section out, I like to acknowledge that COVID caught most of us on our heels and left us reacting to this crisis. We know that this will not be the last disruption of your business. So now's the time to respond in such a way that your operating model has flexibility, agility, and ultimately the cost efficiencies that we're starting to feel the pressure of right now. And ultimately these changes will sustain you and your teams for the future. So with that, Sylvain, I'll send it back to you to close this out.
Thank you very much, Chris. And yeah, to wrap this up pretty quickly, you know, EY and ASAPP partner on those questions, as you can, I hope you have felt during this first conversation. I really believe the way we both approach this and why this partnership is successful, you know, it's not about technology first. There is technology, but what we're trying to solve together is what you need for your agent, what are you trying to solve, what benefits you're trying to get. And from there, what are the right use cases for your agent, exactly as Chris explained. And you know, you notice that all the conversation was how the agent experience is done and how it looks. So that's really how we approach it. What you're trying to solve, what are the core use cases you do, and from there, what is the right technology layer that you implement. So that's how we approach this cooperation and makes it successful.
Sylvain and Chris, thank you for that. We have a number of questions. Feel free, as a friendly reminder to everyone, to type in additional questions in the Q&A formats, but I will start with a first couple. What's your perspective on work from home? So we have sent 70% of our workforce from home, and will continue part of them as work from home. Will this last in general? Who's going to continue? Who won't, and why? And Sylvain, maybe I'll start with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so big swing, absolutely. And we've seen that all over. I think, will we go back exactly where we are? Probably not. Will we be entirely remote? Probably not. You will see probably a spectrum. There's very little, a few extreme, but you will see then within you know, the whole fullback or the whole remote, you will see quite of a spectrum of people in the middle. Why? Because some companies have proven that you can work from home successfully, which will minimize, you know, the time to commute, etc. So there are some agents for which it worked well. I think what will decide at the end of the day is a few things. What's the agent experience? And that's how we believe telco should approach that. What's the agent experience and cost that they're trying to deliver? And how I can do that by working from home or not. And then the company culture as well will play a role. We have some of our clients that are extremely encouraging huddles and face-to-face, for instance, briefing, debrief when they look at their NPS score together in the room. So you have some that what will swing within the spectrum will be the company culture, absolutely, and the kind of use case and experience they want to offer to the agent. So we'll be, I think, nowhere, not exactly where we were, not full screen remote, a little bit on both sides based on where we are. I don't know, Chris, if you want to chime in.
Yeah. I'll add a little bit of my experience at Verizon. My last 2 years there, we had a very robust work from home strategy. So we were very proactive in terms of standing that up because, of course, we started in a very small, measured way and measured the benefits. And it's everything that you just said, Sylvain. It's the agent population that's almost expecting, because technology enables it, they expect a company to offer that flexibility. But not necessarily holistically. You still have a material number of agents that appreciate working in an office building, being able to go to work. And I think the long-term or permanent outcome is going to be a blend. You know, at Verizon, obviously, just like probably every organization on the phone, we went very rapidly to a 100% work from home basis. And swinging the pendulum that far would be too far. So I think you'll see it come back closer to center. But it would not surprise me to see most organizations end up in, say, an 80% work from home, 20% brick and mortar. It'll vary from org to org based on cultures and the complexity of the business. But there are significant agent and business benefits. And with technology, such as everything we just talked through with augmentation, being able to bring some intelligence and ultimately in service of the agent, I think the time is right for you to really support a strong work from home strategy. And it ultimately manifests itself in lower absenteeism, lower attrition, because it helps us address some of those systemic issues that have existed in the contact center space for decades.
Chris, I'm going to just extend that question a little bit because it occurs to me that in a work from home environment, agent coaching, agent performance productivity monitoring is different. You don't have your manager walking up and down the hall. You can't turn to the person next to you who's been there for the last 2 years to say, hey, have you ever heard of this question? So how does that work, do you think, if 80% are working from home now?
It's different for sure. But I think there's an evolution that is taking place where you can have a remote workforce that when they're engaging with their technology the right way from, I'll say, the comforts of their own home, a supervisor can do things in real time. It's essentially everything I just shared with the team, where we should be exiting these legacy models. You think about the way we've managed quality and coaching in the past. It's all after the fact. It's typically not a statistically valid sample of the agent's body of work. You know, we may listen to 4 or 5, 1% at most of the calls. Now we have an opportunity to listen to and respond real time to all of them. And this is very, very different. And we can bring augmentation to the agent that makes them ultimately feel more supported than they've ever been. And when I think about the modern employee, Gen Y, now Gen Z, their expectation is that we actually use modern technology to create this level of flexibility, what you might call work-life balance. This is an opportunity for Fortune 500 companies to meet employees where they want to be met. And ultimately, that will drive all of these business outcomes.
Great. Sylvain, this is, I think, a good one for you to start off with. 3 years ago, we all talked about chatbots. Maybe 2 years ago, we started talking about omni-channel. Today, all I hear about is AI. What do you think most CX leaders think of when they hear the term AI?
So I think, two or three comments. This topic, it's, they say, when we still talk about omni-channel and whatever, I don't want people to believe that it's fashionable and then we don't talk about them anymore and AI replaces everything. First of all, omni-channel is there. It's more than ever. And those things work together. So first comment, about the cycle here, they add up and add up the complexity. I think CX people think about experience first and foremost. That's their priority. Agent experience, customer experience, agent NPS, customer NPS, and that's what drives them, how to improve this and make it easier. And the way AI serve for that, and Chris will chime in after that, is really how do I manage complexity? How do I make the agent more proactive? How do I personalize all these keywords? What are the outcomes that I want? And how AI helps me to be faster, more predictive, more proactive, to personalize the experience and be faster. So, it's outcome-centric, definitely, and they see AI to unlock really all the things that I just mentioned around personalization, speed, contextualization, and that's the engine behind the thing. Chris, do you
you're
concur?
100% right. And I would add, I think I would challenge the leaders on this call to get beyond the marketing. There's a ton of marketing around Omni. Yes, that has become a buzzword. There's a ton of marketing around artificial intelligence, not unlike the marketing that's around 5G. I know that will resonate with this organization. Not all 5G is created equal, as all artificial intelligence is not created equal. And so you got to get beyond the marketing, do the due diligence, and you'll see that true native self-learning artificial intelligence can do all the things that we've talked about. But you got to get past the marketing, because there's some creative wordsmithing that happens out there. And I think when you've got access, the right partnership, so think of the Fortune 500 and the terabytes, the massive amounts of big data that we have, and you ingest that into machine learning algorithms that are self-learning, so you're not requiring manual tuning, so you're truly maximizing the business efficiency that can come with this technology, and you're serving it up in a space that largely hasn't been modernized in decades. The contact center agent space has largely been left, to sort of, agents are creating their own workarounds. Those desktops largely haven't been modernized with true intelligence. And so when you're attacking systemic inefficiencies at scales of 100 million with billions of dollars at hand, with native self-learning AI, with organizations that are economically incentivized to make change, you can change the world. And I think that's the difference between some of the fake artificial intelligence, the bolt-on artificial intelligence that's out there, versus the true artificial intelligence that's native and self-learning.
Great. I'm going to jump to sort of ask a recent question that's sort of on the same topic. Chris, you, in one of your slides, talked about intelligently routing calls to the most suitable agents based on call type. Assuming that the best agent might be relative to the type of problem that is going to be resolved, is that what you mean, or is it already a part of the AI's functionality of coaching for performance?
You could say both, but that would be an oversimplification. I'll tell you, the real opportunity that I've seen from customers that I work with that are doing it best is using this big data to create a one-to-one connection. I won't go so far as to say a love connection, but really creating a one-to-one relationship between the skills, almost the I'll say the segmentation of the agent with the segmentation of the customer. And so you can create a one-to-one connection that marries the customer with the agent in a way that, based on historical data, that you're going to drive the most optimal outcomes. And so I would ask everyone to think about, are you using big data in a way to create a very personalized, customized experience so that your customers don't feel like a number? It drives loyalty and it drives retention. And ultimately, that's done by way of customer and agent when you route at the intent level, the customer to the right agent. And you can do that in both digital and voice, but the goal is ultimately a level of personalization that the customer will feel that ultimately drives increased loyalty with your brand.
Great. Sylvain, I'm going to ask this to you because I think
Mhm,
you covered it in one of your slides, but it might bear repeating. Um,
mhm.
so we've invested, all of us have invested in digital transformation technology the last 5-10 years, virtual assistants, chatbots, et cetera. When you talked about digital channels, if this were the panacea, why didn't we see that play out more before COVID? Why is digital engagement, at least with our customers, still in the low double digits?
Yeah. So, well, it's still low. It's getting better, but it's still low. I think that's a fair statement, and that's what I presented on my slide. I can reiterate a bit the reason from that perspective. I think there is room for improvement on the tools as they are today. That's my candid observation. And I think many telcos are aware, and they still have roadmap to improve their apps, their self-service support online. The product as it is today, in terms of feature, ergonomy, UI, there's room for improvement. They can be better. Okay, let's do it. And why? One of the reasons, I'm not finding excuse, but we're working with this company, right? Is that why isn't that? And as I explained, it's very easy when you're digital native, you're a startup and you're building from scratch with a light touch infrastructure, an app and a portal. Whereas where you're a company is with dozens of millions of subscribers, with data stored in multiple legacy systems that are the results of merger and acquisition between all these companies, and that you have to stitch all that together. So the reality is that there is a lot of technology debt here and legacy that this company have to deal together, to deal with. So I think there's a lot of technological complexity and silos to break, which explain why it takes them time to deliver a good end-to-end experience and a good product. So it's going to take time. The reality, I think there is room for improvement. We can definitely increase point after point every year what they're doing, but that explains that the rationale why we are there from my experience.
Great. We have, I think, time for just one more. In terms of using AI or actually any other new digital technology, what's your advice on where and how to get started? And I think that's a good one for both of you guys. But maybe Sylvain, we'll start with you.
Yeah, start and perfect. I think that's what I echoed. Where to start? Don't start by technology. Don't start by looking at platform and architecture. Look at your current state. What is at stake with you? Is it a sales problem, a support problem? Is it an agent satisfaction? In which use case? A repair? Simple question. What are you trying to solve? What is the problem? What is the use case? And from there, you will naturally find the tools and implement the AI the way it's going to work. I think that's what Chris was illustrating, trying to solve a specific agent. Do you want to have coaching on the flight from a supervisor? And that's an easy use case to implement. And then what's the solution and the AI? You're going to think solution, private solution rather than technology. That's the way we always approach things. And that's the way you should do. So where would you want to leverage AI? Where do you think you can bring personalization, exactly as Chris said? Where do you think you can match agent? What is the problem? And from there, how you can leverage your data with the right level of AI and where you're going to implement AI. Chris?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, I think going back to that previous slide where I talked about digital migration, everybody's different. Some of you already have Apple Business Chat. I think that is a very elegant solution in terms of moving voice very rapidly to digital, being able to enhance your automation. So I think Apple Business Chat is a great place to start if you don't use it already. You've got web and SDKs that can be deployed very, very quickly in an effort to move voice to digital. You do all of these things in a way that not only are economically huge for your business, but in ways that drive customer and agent satisfaction. And while you're moving as much of that legacy voice, that very static, very complex voice traffic to more flexible, agile digital channels, go ahead and augment your agent, leveraging all of this artificial intelligence. Make great use of your big data, either on behalf of your agent within their desktop or use these insights to drive further automation effectiveness. You can finally leverage these insights, the 360-degree view, which is what the customer is saying, what the agent is saying, as well as those click streams, how they're using their applications. Allow that to feed other parts of your business, back to technology, to marketing, to sales. There's a ton of insights there.
Great. We are at our 45 minutes. I would like to thank both of you for a really great 45-minute chat. I also offer to our audience, ASAPP has developed an economic value brief quantifying what AI has done for companies in the telecommunications space. If anyone is interested in receiving that, please feel free to email us at askask@asapp.com, and we'll be happy to send that to you. And with that, I'd like to thank both of you and everyone in attendance today, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.